Joe just mailed me this 4-page letter. After reading Joe Exotic's first letter that says, I need your help so bad, I can prove my innocence. I mailed a letter to Joe asking about evidence. Joe Maldonado Passage is serving 22 years in prison for wildlife offenses and hiring someone to kill animal rights activist Carol Baskin.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens.
Their ongoing feud highlighted on the Netflix series Tiger King.
She's been playing that hypocrite.
I told you about a group called Team Tiger working to free Joe, led by private investigator Eric Love.
Joe's going to walk out of prison.
Since then, I talked to John Rinke, also featured in Tiger King.
Sure, y'all got a story to tell.
He was a manager at Joe's Zoo in Wynnewood for 14 years. You think he should get out?
Yeah, he should have already got out. He spent way too much time in there already. I just can't believe they railroaded a man that bad and left so much evidence out there untalked about.
Should Joe be free?
Absolutely.
Ann Patrick is Joe's power of attorney and lived at the park with Joe. She typically does not do interviews and didn't want to show her face.
The corruptness is just obnoxious. We have absolute, undeniable proof.
Proof Joe revealed in his latest letter. He wrote, they had all that information in the courtroom, but they kept it suppressed. Eric says Team Tiger paid thousands to extract evidence from phones and laptops the government had access to but didn't use in the trial.
We spent the $45,000. We had everything pulled.
When Eric looked at the case, he says this was his first red flag.
How many witnesses did they call on Joe's behalf? 0.
Not one of those charges would have stuck if they had let me and Rinke testify. They could never have found him guilty.
Did they give you a reason why you didn't testify?
They didn't need me. How can you not need the person who's with him every single day?
My name came up a million times during this whole trial. Why not talk to me?
The prosecution says Joe killed 5 tigers to make room for cage space. But Joe told me he had permission. He wrote, I did euthanize 5 tigers, and I did it with a gun, which was authorized by the USDA. He points to this document, signed by a veterinarian, that says Joe and Rinke were authorized to euthanize by gunshot. Rinke says those tigers were old and suffering with broken teeth and arthritis.
The most humane way to put a cat down, or any animal, is a bullet. Just like a farmer would use on a cow or a horse. One bullet is done.
So Joseph put those cats out of their misery humanely.
We knew that the writing was on the wall.
In the Netflix series, Jeff Lowe, who eventually became the park's owner, said he told the feds Joe paid Alan Glover to kill Carol Baskin. Alan was Jeff's right-hand man.
Jeff could get him to do anything.
Joe wrote this about Alan. We hated each other and couldn't work together. Why on earth would I hire someone I couldn't stand?
Joe and Alan couldn't even be within 5 feet of each other without fighting.
Me and Joe had talked about it, and we had discussed just fire him. Joe says he can't fire him because he belongs to Jeff Lowe.
Prosecutors said as part of his plot, Joe gave Alan a phone to use. What do you know about the phone?
I knew there was a phone missing, and they were looking for that phone.
The pizza phone is what it's referred to, was stolen. Alan Glover had it.
Eric says this text proves it. Here, Jeff asked Joe why so much data was used on one of the park's phones. And Joe says Alan stole the pizza phone.
The evidence is black and white.
In court, the prosecution said Joe gave Alan $3,000 to go to Florida and kill Carol, with plans to pay more later.
That was bullcrap. It wasn't money to pay to kill Carol. That was money to send Alan Glover back to South Carolina to get him out of our hair. He was a pain in the butt.
Eric says the zoo gave Alan money so he could go home.
He had some personal issues that he needed to address and get in line. The park gave him $3,000. Joe didn't.
For one, I bought Alan's plane ticket myself. He was never going to Florida. He got a ticket from Oklahoma City to South Carolina.
These next text messages are from 3 different phones. An FBI informant texted, Glover flew out of Oklahoma City to South Carolina Saturday night to go home. Jeff texted, Alan is probably better off in South Carolina. And Alan texted, things change. Been to Florida before, didn't like it. I gotta find me another beach. In his letter, Joe wrote, I did not ask anyone to hurt Carol. I asked Joe about the threats he made against Carol in YouTube videos like this one.
Why Carol Baskin better never, ever, ever see me face to face. Ever, ever, ever.
Joe wrote, I said a lot of things on my show to look crazy because she was hiring people to work and spy in my zoo.
She bashed Joe on her shows, and Joe bashed her on his shows, and it brought in money.
The prosecution said Joe repeatedly sought someone to murder Baskin, and in 2017 met with an undercover FBI agent. The jury heard a recording of his meeting with the agent to discuss details of the planned murder. Ann says Joe only went to that meeting to find out what they wanted, and that Joe never talked to the informant after that meeting.
He ignored him. There was no money exchanged hands.
He never paid nobody to go do it. It would have never went that far. Did he hate the woman? Yes. All of us did. Everybody in the animal industry hates that woman.
It only took the jury a few hours to find Joe guilty. I wanted to talk to the prosecution, but they're not doing interviews. They emailed, the Department of Justice remains steadfastly confident that the court record, evidence, and trial testimony fully supports the correctness of the jury's verdict.
I know for an absolute fact Joseph didn't do this. If he was guilty, I wouldn't have spent the last 2.5 years trying to help him.
Joe wrote, I'm asking President Trump to set this right and sign my pardon and allow me to return home.
What do you think the president will do?
Well, if the Lord answers my prayers, he's going to pardon. Joseph does not deserve to be in jail.
What's going on in today's world? I think Trump's going to pardon him.
You really do?
I really do.
Joe wrote, all of the proof is there. And he signed, thank you, Joe Exotic. Covering news that matters. Janna Clark, Fox 23 News.